So today we're gonna actually help you to understand a little bit about how we got to have our company Jannah, and how we got to have the logo of Jannah, and how did we end up with our values that we cherish so much and that we love so much. Of course, in another video you will look at the 10 chambers, which are also very dear to us. If you're a talent and you're joining us, these are the perimeters that you can live and work by. And what we're going to talk about today is the spirit is like the soul to the body, and it's very important for you and for I to always be aligned and always be synchronized with the philosophy and the methodology of the company. First of all, you will see that we all share the same office. This is something that's very important, like all the parts of a human body, they should all be attached so they would function right. So we're going to start talking about our company and how did our company start. And we all used to work for different companies, and one day we started thinking that maybe we should have our own. And the initial start, why, was because we wanted a way that we run hotels that will affect positively the working environment for all the employees in it, that will affect positively the owners, and etc. And the first thing that we came up with was what we're going to call this company. And then we talked about Jannah. Jannah is an Arabic word, and Jannah can mean a garden, but also can mean heaven, which is part of the afterlife. And we said, where can you have better service than the way that heaven is described? And so we called it Jannah, and that was, I think, a very, very good start for all of us. When you come up with a name, you have to always find a logo or a symbol that will actually help you portray these names for people that don't understand, for example, the Arabic language. They don't know what does Jannah mean, but by looking at the logo, they will probably get a closer understanding of what do we want to achieve. And so we started working with different marketing agencies. We engaged some of our friends also that are graphic designers. We tried hard. It's not easy to put a logo that will describe Jannah. And we really tried. I remember that we spoke to one jewelry designer. She designs jewelries that comes from old ancient symbols, and she was helping us to come up with Jannah, but also she could not. No one could actually capture the right image. And I really personally was counting on my feeling when we would choose the logo. So one day, and this is a true story, and I actually, before I went to sleep, I prayed. And I asked, I said, if what we are doing today is the right thing to do, then please help us to find the logo that we want to find, and that you want us to find, that will actually reflect back the word Jannah in the right way. And I went to sleep. If you look, we've all worked in Qasr Sarab, which is a hotel in the desert in an area called Liwa in the empty quarter. So I went to sleep and I had a dream. I had a dream that I met this local gentleman that you will hear about very often now, that was teaching me a lot about the Bedouin life. And I saw him on top of a sandy hill. And I ran to him and I said, Abu Salim, what are you doing? And he was planting olive trees in the desert. And I said, Abu Salim, the tree will die. And he said, no, Nami, the tree will not die. And he asked me, he said, Nami, zoom in. And in a dream, you can actually zoom in. You can look, and I zoomed in and I looked at the trees and I found the turquoise stones hanging on the trees. And I remember saying to him, I said, Abu Salim, this tree carries turquoise stones. He said, yes, Nami, هذه شجرة مباركة. This is a tree that is blessed. And I said, how can a tree live with no water here in the desert? He said, this tree will actually bring water to the land. And I remember this phrase very well. He said, you want more trees? I said, yes. Let's have a tree here, let's have a tree there, and let's have a tree over there. So I woke up the second day, as you can imagine, extremely happy, because I felt that this is somehow a sign. And we called our marketing agency and we said we want a real tree as our logo, a real olive tree. We started flipping through trees and trees and trees to find the right tree. And you will see that our tree is curved a little bit. And we did that on purpose because we wanted our tree to look like a tree that ages well. And then there was, should we keep the tree as it is or should we color it? And we decided to color it with a honey color. So the tree has a honey color. You know, in Jannah they say that there's a river of honey. So the color was also a very good idea to choose. And we decided to keep the turquoise stones as they are. So this will always become a blessed tree. Now, if you look in our history, the olive tree is always mentioned in all civilization and in all cultures as a blessed tree. When the company started, the company has to always have values. Values is what makes a company function, is what makes a company be itself today, and 10 and 100 years from today, and even 500 years from today. And this is why values are important, because values are never determined by the size of the company. And values can stay. So we decided to start doing our values. And you know, we immediately knew what is gonna be our first value. And our first value was called Al-Mizan. And Al-Mizan comes from, it means in English, the balance. So when you have to balance between many items, many objects, many different needs, and etc. And you see, when you are a hotel management company, when you're a hotel operator, when you're a hotel developer, when you are in the business world, you have to learn that it's not only win-win. Sometimes it has to be win-win-win-win-win. And in hotel business especially, it has to be win owner, win guest, win employee, win management company. So what we had to do is to create a balance that would balance 4 points. And this comes from a story also that I have learned about growing up, and it says فَلَا تَسْقُلُونَ بِالْمِيزَانِ. It means there was in the old days traders that would actually make the balance, you know, the balance was only 2, and they would make, you want to buy tomatoes, they would make the balance heavier. So for example, if the tomato is 1 kilo, instead of making it 1 kilo, they would make it look like 2 kilo. So they would take from you instead of giving you what is fair. And we said we will not do this. Now, this was the first value, and we were very sure about our first value. The second value is, when we sat down, we said, which kind of hospitality are we? We're a hospitality company, so which kind of hospitality are we representing? And this one was not hard either, because we knew immediately what we want to do. You know, the time that we spent in the desert learning about the desert tribe gave us many, many lessons that you will actually hear about. The more you are staying with us during your orientation, during these videos, that you get to know us more and more. There is this gentleman, Abu Salim, that probably you will also meet because he comes and visits us a lot. And he taught me something very, very important. When man would live in a desert, in a Bet Shar, which is a tent, and he would live there with his family, the lesson is that when he sees a guest traveling and coming towards his tent, and that guest is gonna be his guest, and him and his family, Abu Salim and his family, would maybe not have eaten for 2 days, and he would just have catched a rabbit, and he's cooking it. He would take the food, he would put it in front of his guest, and he would let his guest eat alone. Why he would let him eat alone? Not because he doesn't want to keep him a companion, but he actually lets him eat alone so he should not stop, so he doesn't feel oh, I should stop because there's other people to eat. On the same time, of course, the guest doesn't eat the whole food, and he eats a little bit, and then the whole family joins. This taught me a very important lesson. This is guest before self. This means service before self. And we started calling this the noble Bedouin hospitality, because you see, all the rest of the companies, they represent Arabian hospitality, which means generosity. But Arabian hospitality comes from countries where I come from, in Lebanon, for example. And yes, when a guest comes in, we fill a table with food, but we had food. We had everything since day one. And or Thai hospitality, which is really, you know, to serve. Other companies use Thai hospitality and etc. But we are noble Bedouin hospitality, because that Bedouin is noble, is really, he's giving when he does not have, he's still giving. And this is what we do in our hotels. It's service before self, guest before us. So this was the second one. So we had Al-Mizan, then we had Ad-Daif. And Ad-Daif is a word that means the guest and represents noble Bedouin hospitality. Then came the third circle, which is also very important to us. You see, we always say that our company, that our employees are not our company best assets, but our talents are our company. The only way to do this is not to have employees. but also not to have associates, as everybody wants to call them. And everybody here in this room, you will know sooner or later that is a heavy reader, and we always read articles and books and try to learn more about the world. But the one thing that has lived through history is something that is called belief. Is when you believe in something, this does not go away. This is the ultimate evolution, is when you believe. So we said we're going to build a team of great, talented people that have a belief. And our belief is we're a first-class company serving first-class guests and hiring only first-class talent. We say this every day in our top 5. We say it as a team, we put our hand on our heart and we say it and we believe it. So what did we want to do? We wanted to create something called ambassadors. Why ambassadors of the brand? And how can we really make this? Every time that we want to come up with something new and we want to innovate, we don't look at other companies. We look at companies, we look at governments, we look at cultures, we look at civilization, we look at religion, we look at anything that we can put our hands on to learn from. And you see, every time we looked at governments send their ambassadors to new countries. When we actually want to have an employee, he's in contact with a guest, which it's like a foreign country for him. Every ambassador, when he starts his day, he goes on our Twitter, he retweets, he goes on our Facebook page, he likes, he shares what he prefers, etc. And this is called environment conditioning. So you are no longer an employee, you are a talent. This is why you are hired, because you're a first-class talent. And once you are part of us, you become a Jannah ambassador. You become a company ambassador. When you talk, when you engage, when you want to speak to clients, to investors, when you want to speak to hotel owners, when you want to speak to your own friends, you are a Jannah ambassador. And when you learn about the chambers, the 10 chambers that we have, you will know how we speak to the world. And this is something that is very important. So this was our third circle. Our first was Al-Mizan, and our second was Al-Daif, the Noble Bedouin Hospitality. The third was Al-Safir. Al-Safir means ambassador also in the Arabic language. And that is you, our talents. And the fourth one was the most important one. You see, because you don't make companies only to make money. That is not your priority. That sits number 5 on the priorities when making companies. When you make a company, you create a corporate culture. When you make a company, you build a team of people that are aligned towards one objective. So our fourth circle was very important. We said, how we're gonna do that? How we're gonna do the core, the most important? And the most important came from a word that is called Al-Ihsan. And it comes from a phrase that says, فَهَلْ جَزَاءُ الْإِحْسَانِ إِلَّا الْإِحْسَانِ. What does it mean? It means, is there any reward for goodness other than goodness? Which means, if you do good in this world, will you be rewarded anything else but good? Of course, you will only be rewarded good. And that is very important for us. When you become part of Jannah, you will be enrolled in Takatuf if you're working in Abu Dhabi, for example. Or you will be enrolled in Red Cross if you're working in Sweden. Or you will be enrolled in any foundation where you can help. The only difference between us and every other company is when you help and when I help, we don't take a picture of this and put it in a newspaper. When we do what is good to society, to the environment, when we do what is good to our kids and our families, we don't use this for PR. My dad told me when I was a kid, he said, whatever your right hand does in good, your left hand should not know about. And this is our approach. We do that for us. We do that for our own. We don't do that to share it with the world. And if we feel that there is something to be shared so the world can learn from us, then we share it. So these were our 4 values. Al-Mizan, which is the balance. Al-Safir, which is the ambassadors, which is us. And Al-Daif, which is the Noble Bedouin Hospitality. And Al-Ihsan, which is the goodness. فَهَلْ جَزَاءُ الْإِحْسَانِ إِلَّا الْإِحْسَانِ. Now, we represent these 4 circles. And each one of us represents specifically one of those circles. When we want to make a decision, that decision has to positively impact these 4 circles. So what we did, if you look on the screen in front of you, you will see that these 4 circles are combined with one circle in the middle. and then there's a falcon flying in. Now this is something that we learned from Abu Salim also. We combined the 4 circles because we said that no decision will ever be made unless we will make sure that that decision affects positively these 4 circles. So we combine them in 1 circle, which is the normal way of doing things. Then we understood that we need a drive. That how can we believe that every time we have to make a decision, we will make it affecting positively these 4 circles. And this is where the falcon came in. You see, in the desert, they didn't hunt with guns. They didn't have any guns. They didn't hunt. They hunted the natural way. And the natural way is to teach the falcon, a bird from nature, how to hunt. So when I was learning about this, of course, we were in a different time, and this became more a sport and an activity than actually a means of survival. But I have learned something from the falcon that I did not learn from humans, is that the falcon is determined and cannot be deterred. I saw this in flight. When a falcon is after his prey can always maneuver, but the falcon can always fly fast and fly direct and fly with non-stop. So usually his prey goes and hides in the green grass in the desert. His prey tries to hide in it. And the falcon should stop, because why? Because the falcon is flying at 80 kilometers per hour, and if he hits that plant at that speed, he may break his neck. And this was always a prey, her way of hiding, and the falcon would never stop. And I saw this. The falcon would be determined until he gets what he wants. And this is what we are. We are like that falcon. We are always determined to maintain these 4 values. We are always determined to make sure that we affect positively these 4 values. At the end, I tell you, always remember that we are a first-class company, serving first-class guests and hiring only first-class talents. Thank you very much.